Hello everyone, welcome back to today's show. My name is Spencer Walsh. You're listening to another episode of Newsflash. I just realized that made no sense, but we have a great show for you today. Still falling out over the craziness with Iran. We'll give you the latest updates on that, including the Iraqi parliament voting to expel all American troops, Iranian Americans being detained and asked about their political views at the border. We'll take a look at a great Chris Hedges op-ed, give you an update on Australia, talk about who may be the most electable candidate, also who benefits from the war in Iran, and do a rare thing that we don't often do, or at least have not done in a long time. We're going to do on today's show, for the first time in I believe a very, very long time, an article breakdown for you today. But first, before we get to any of that, I do want to start with the latest on the Iran situation and the retaliation that is about probably like 99% chance going to come very, very soon. So that is the biggest fear and really news story, I think, as it should be. I think it's become officially the first meme of 2020 and first meme of the decade, World War III trending on social media. So yeah, and I think it's been one of those really rare stories that like breaks out of the political world and kind of goes into culture. And it's a really actually a very big story, because how could you not be very, very alarmed at the prospect of a possible world war? And there's been some pretty amazing BS that's come out about it, and really widely shared. And I think I'm kind of uniquely positioned to give that kind of aspect on it. I will try in this upcoming year to try and devote my network SWRN here to giving you a little bit more of a perspective of how my generation kind of processes these news stories and kind of just processes life. But I may, if there is a little bit of time on the show today, I do want to give you a look at a preview of what has been, at least I saw someone share on my Snapchat, and kind of tell you just why that is BS. It could be a little bit of an interesting debunking lesson, because we could be pretty busy debunking on today's show, like on two fronts. So yeah. Anyway, so pretty much the big news is Iran's government has said that it is no longer going to be abiding by a commitment it made in 2015 that it will not limit its enrichment of uranium. That is the crazy situation here. It is said, so the deal that established the closest thing that we've had since the 1970s to a real peace with Iran has been pretty much finally broken. The nail has been put in the coffin ever since, by the way, the United States, and I think it's very important, it sounds like it's obvious to say, because of course the United States reneged on the deal. Everybody knows that. This deal was what kept the peace and made the whole world sure, and it was a very, very popular deal. It's very hard to get, just like it's very hard to get all of Congress to agree on something. It's very, very hard to get the entire world's governments to collectively agree on something, which at the time they did. The deal wasn't perfect. It had everything the conservatives love to scream and yell about, like with the Sunset Clause, obviously. But it was very, very good. And if you look at the IEA, the International IEAE, I think it's called. It's the UN Enrichment Association. IAEA, that's what it's going to do. They will continue to cooperate with that, but they are really kind of easing off with what they're trying to do. It's finished. If there's no limit on production, there's no deal, says David Albright, president of the Institute for Science and International Security, which is a nonprofit in Washington. The announcement came after Iran's National Security Council held an emergency meeting on Sunday to discuss the country's nuclear policy in the aftermath of Major General Qasem Soleimani's assassination. So Soleimani dead, they all come in and discuss it and say, you know what, we're not going to do the nuclear deal anymore, which, I mean, I think, obviously, like, that's something that, if you're Iran, like, that's something you got to take. And President Trump has only himself to blame for this. These are situations that he himself, through his actions, have directly caused. And I think that's something that is going to be incredibly misrepresented and very, very poorly explained by the mainstream media over the next few months, or hopefully not longer as this plays out. But I think it's very, very important to remember Donald Trump caused this situation. This is a situation entirely of his own making. He broke this peace. He broke this peace and position with this BS evidence that even by the best standards is razor thin, that Soleimani was apparently planning a major attack in the United States. So the evidence from that, according to the New York Times today, is very, 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 very thin. As I'm sure you have probably heard and probably guessed, because this movie has played out before. It's the exact same situation that took place with Iraq way not so far back when. Like, it's the same exact thing. We even had the same line over the weekend. We're gonna be greeted as liberators if we come here in there. And like, I mean, this stuff is like, I'm not that old, but it is. It's really crazy to see this happening again so fast. The announcement followed several steps by Iran to move away from the terms of the agreement. Again, nearly 2 years after President Trump withdrew from the United States from the deal. Like, you got a clearly hostile president, as someone who wants to see you fail as a country at all costs, pulls out of a deal that stops you from allowing nuclear weapons. They themselves are nuclear power. Like, if it were me and I was running around, I'd be like, hey, we got to build up the nuclear weapons. Like, there is going to be a real problem here. Things like, they're not going to stop until they put some major pressure on this. So this is a thing that I feel like is going to continue to happen, and we're going to continue to see that a struggle, a real struggle from Iran to build up this uranium. And Trump very well could have just enabled Iran to become a nuclear power if things go the way they look like they're going right now, unless there's some major event, or God forbid, a full war that ends up being a regime change in Iran. So, yeah, it looks like at this point, the European parties to the deal, up until this point, including Britain, France, and Germany, had struggled to preserve the agreement amid rising tensions between Washington and Tehran. So it's obviously going to be very tough, because you need every single part. Like, when you got America backing out on a deal, they have such a big footprint that if they back out on the deal, it's going to be very, very hard for them to stick by. But it looks like they've done that to try and at least save face with other major Western powers. So credit to them, I think, for that. But some other news across the border in Iraq, where Iraqi lawmakers voted 170-0 on Sunday in favor of expelling American troops from their country just days after this drone strike. This happened just today. The vote was not final. Many lawmakers did not attend the session, but Prime Minister Adel Abdul Mahdi drafted the language and submitted the bill to Parliament, leaving little doubt about his support. So he is he's not going to be around for that long. I believe he's an acting prime minister. But nevertheless, he will have a major impact, I think, on the way this deal plays out, because it's going to be a big thing. I think if the people rally behind this, it's very likely that they could continue to make this more and more dangerous for a lot of American troops that are going to be in the region and are going to be in the region. So the attack was viewed in Iraq as a violation of the nation's sovereignty. Well, that's shocking. It was by any objective measure. Like, imagine, again, I know you're going to hear this example a lot, but it's true. Like, imagine if someone just bombed LaGuardia to kill a major official a government official in your country, like, in our country. Like, that would be major, major, major. And the least we would do is want to expel the troops of the country that did it out of our country. Like, we'd be freaking out. And that's the logical. We got to look at the logical reaction here from this side. Yeah. So the attack was viewed in Iraq as, again, a violation of the nation's sovereignty. And the country's foreign minister on Sunday said that it has summoned the American ambassador in Baghdad. Iraq's parliament was divided over demands from angry citizens to expel American troops. Many of its 328 members, primarily Kurds and Sunnis, did not attend Sunday's session and did not vote. In his speech to lawmakers, Mahdi and the Prime Minister laid out two possibilities: to either quickly end the presence of foreign forces in Iraq or to set a timeline for that expulsion. The measure approved by the parliament did not include a timeline and only instructed the government to end the presence of foreign forces in Iraq. officials said no decision had been made about whether any American troops would be able to stay and under what conditions. So yeah, this is pretty much all this is really a declaration of from at least the Shiite group in the Iraqi parliament, and by extension the Shiites in Iraq, are very, very fed up with American troops, and probably mostly a large majority of the country would want, I mean, that's why they went so bananas on the embassy. They want American influence severely, severely lessened in the region. I really don't blame them for that, because look what it's done so far. Iranian officials react to the vote with congratulatory messages, and as it said, Soleimani's death had delivered a huge victory over the United States. Hassaneddin Ashina, a top advisor to President Hassan Rouhani, said in a Twitter post, "Expanding friendships with our neighbors and domestic unity are the best gifts for protecting our national security. America and Israel are the only winners of a rift between neighbors." Asked about the vote on Sunday, Secretary of State Mike Pompeo said the United States would continue to battle the Islamic State. It is the United States that is prepared to help Iraqi people get what it is they deserve and continue our mission there to take down terrorism from ISIS and others in the region, he said in an interview in the CBS program Face the Nation. So if American forces leave the country, and European Union and coalition forces will likely have to follow, because they rely on American logistics and intelligence resources to protect their forces and civilians that work with them. NATO has already announced a suspension of its training mission for Iraqi forces. So it's like, I think the time now has come that Trump has finally kind of broken the whatever remaining trust Iraqis had of Western forces left, and it is just like this is the reality of the situation. So, from Israel to Saudi Arabia, the United States allies in the Middle East have long warned Washington about Iran's campaigns in the region, many of them, in fact, masterminded by Soleimani, but with a scant exception, their response to killing him has been silence. Iran has built pretty close ties with the government of Syria and armed groups in Gaza, Lebanon, Syria, Iraq, and Yemen. That puts many Iranian partners within firing range of American allies like Israel, Egypt, Saudi Arabia, and the UAE. For many of them, the wisest course of action over the weekend seemed to be to say nothing, which makes sense because, think about the position that Mike Pompeo and Donald Trump have put our allies in. And again, you're not going to see me crying for Israel and Saudi Arabia, but it comes to a point where it's like you cannot be trying to tell me that this is a sound move if we're going by the metrics of the things that Trump says is happening. They're just not happening. American troops aren't safer, American people aren't safer with this move, and neither are the people that we claim to want to protect and want to care about. So I'm just pointing that out, that reaction. So please just do not accuse me of standing by with firm, proud arms the people of Saudi Arabia and Israel. Again, you're not going to see me crying over them. I think they're perfectly capable of protecting themselves, and the U.S. will come to their aid, I think, if necessary, especially Israel, because there really is a cohesive lobby for that, as we know with AIPAC and what we've seen time and time again with that. But yeah, of course, you don't want to. I'm not saying screw the people of Israel and Saudi Arabia if they die, but I'm not a big fan of their current governments. So you're not going to be I feel so bad for the good governments of Israel and Saudi Arabia. I just want to make that again perfectly clear. Many officials in the Middle East are concerned about the degree of support that they can expect from Trump should they become targets of Iranian retaliation, cyber attack, or sabotage. Prince Khalid bin Salman, the Saudi Deputy Defense Minister, flew to Washington this weekend to meet with American officials. And in Iraq, pro-Iranian militias pose a powerful threat to groups that prefer the United States. In Lebanon, American allies kept quiet to avoid Hezbollah, a major political party and the country's strongest military force. And even in Israel, celebrations were